Join me on this decorate with me while I turn this amazing Tarantula Cribs treehouse switch into this beautiful cottagecore enclosure for your jumping spider. Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to be using our Tarantula Cribs treehouse switch enclosure today to do a build. I absolutely love this enclosure. Favorite features of this is that it is front opening and has a removable top, so it allows for a lot of easy access for decorating, but then also for your spiders for feeding them, misting, just getting better access to them. The door slides really well in the front, has magnetic spots on 4 areas on the front. Here is for the lid, lifting it up and open. Really like that the lid opens on the top, and I also use this as a feature for when I feed my spiders. Tip it over, and I can dump in the food because usually they're up at the top. So then I'm able to just toss in food there and kind of use it as a bowl. First thing I'm going to do is cut the reptile safe moss that I use in all my enclosures. This is something that I've consistently used. So this is the crash pad reptile safe moss that I get at pet stores. I've had a lot of people ask where I get them from. You can get them at pet stores. It's hit or miss if you can get them. You can also look it up online too and find some other stores that you might be able to shop online and get it delivered to you. Something that I found very helpful when I am cutting my moss is that I have actually made templates for all the enclosures that I use. I label them, but I am able to then cut it to the size I typically use. This is for the back part of the treehouse switch. So here I just line it up and I cut it out. And this just allows us so that way I'm not always having to resize this or having to measure it up against the enclosure. And here is for the bottom of the treehouse switch. And I definitely have a few of these that I use for different enclosures. Just makes it quick and easy. Let's go ahead and glue in our reptile safe moss. Here I'm just placing the moss in there, making sure everything is sized up. Even though I do have my templates, I do double check it. All the reptile safe moss does have a backing on there, so make sure the paper comes off. I did have to cut just a little bit off on it, but just fine. So I peel off the paper, and then I take my hot glue and glue the back side of it. So I use the Gorilla Glue hot glue. I really like this hot glue that I use. It's a precision one, so it has replaceable different tips on there that I can use, and so it allows me to get into some tighter areas if I am doing some of the smaller builds or trying to get in some of the smaller details. When I place in the grass, I just have to make sure that I am making sure that I'm not getting onto the sides of the enclosure. So usually I try to fold it up and slide it in there. Make sure I'm pressing down on all areas, that it's fully secured so you don't have any areas lifting up that a spider can get under, or any of the bugs and food that the spiders will eat. So this custom enclosure was ordered through my Etsy shop by a customer. So I am matching up to her request, which was matching to a photo that I did have on my Etsy listing. So it makes it kind of easy that I was able to grab some of the pieces I already have on hand just to replicate it. One thing as well was this window. So here I'm going to cut out a hole in the moss in the center and try to line up with the window. So that way you can kind of peek through the window and still you can like see through the back side of it, which is really cool. So I'll just try and find the ideal spot. And then I'm going to take my scissors, poke through, and just start kind of cutting out the area. And this is just, it's just kind of done by feel and by looks. Nothing really specific, honestly. So I'm using my scissors just to trim around the area. The nice thing with the moss is that it really does help hide the imperfections. Plus, I'll be gluing the window over this, so really I don't have to worry about this being a perfect hole or anything like that. I just have to make sure I can be able to see through the window like my design intends. So now that I got that all cut out, I'm going to put it back on the enclosure and just to see how it looks on there. I'm also going to put the window on there just to see how that looks there. It's hard to tell from the video, but it's still a little bit hard to see through the entirety of the window. Some of the moss is still peeking through, so I'm still going to cut out just a little bit more on there. Like I said, this is just purely by eye, just testing it out and seeing how it looks. Alright, so now I have enough shown, plus on the back side I have enough space so that way I can put hot glue on the back of the window and it will stick up against the enclosure. So first I'm going to put hot glue all over the back side of the moss, and making sure to get all the different areas, all the corners covered, so that way when it's sticking up against the side of the enclosure, you don't have anywhere that the spiders can get into again. So definitely making sure I have every opening really kind of covered. So I'm going to place it in there, kind of fold it up, and this is really where this tree house is just so easy to work with when you're decorating, because I have access to the top, but then I can also use the front side to push in areas. There's so many different access points when you're trying to use this enclosure for a build, so it's pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and hot glue in the window. I'm making sure I put a lot of hot glue on the window. My fear is always that this is going to pop off, so I really make sure I put a lot of hot glue on there, get all the different areas. That way it just is definitely more secure. And I've found more success with the Gorilla Glue hot glue for things sticking on there. So I'm going to place this on there, and I'm just going to keep pressing down as hard as I can, getting all areas covered, squished, and everything. Now comes one of my favorite parts, is finding out how I want to exactly lay this out. So placing in the decor that I know I want in there. So I have this cute little cottagecore bench and chair. I got the bench from Temu, and then the chair I actually got in the discount bin over at Michael's. I think the chair is super cute because there's little mushrooms on it. After getting a general idea of how I want to lay out the furniture, I'm going to start adding in some foliage as well. I had actually, for the original design of this, I had placed some of the green leaves on the side of the window. Kind of makes it look like big flowers are coming up off the side. I love it. So I make sure I add enough hot glue onto the stem and onto the different parts of the leaves. And I'm going to stick this onto. So I press down as hard as I can, making sure all areas are secure onto the moss. And then I also try to make sure I don't get myself burnt by the hot glue. This is also where the precision hot glue gun does come in clutch, because I'm able to go into certain areas and add just a little bit more hot glue so that way it's secured down. I also do a shake test every once in a while just to make sure all the pieces are holding together. This is definitely to make sure that when I'm shipping enclosures that pieces are going to be staying on, just because shipping can be rough. So while I'm adding this other piece onto the back of the enclosure. I'd love to hear your guys' input on these videos. Do you like watching the DIY videos? Do you like seeing how the process is? Is there something that you're looking to see and get out of these? Comment below. I'd love to hear your input on this. A piece that I really like to add to any cottagecore type of enclosure is fencing. So I have this plastic fencing with wire that holds it together. So measure it out, and then I take wire cutters and I cut the ends. That way I can get that to the side of the enclosure. After I cut the wire, I do press the wire up against the wire cutters. This is to push in the wire just so there's no sharp edges that are going to be poking out and potentially being a hazard to the spiders. Putting some hot glue on the fence, trying to make sure I get enough coverage on the ends. And I don't do all of the posts, but I do a good amount of them. I don't think it's necessarily needed to do all of them. Securing it onto the side of the enclosure. Make sure I press down on all of the sides that I hot glued. Get enough pressure on there so that way it sticks on there. I love how this looks on the side. Alright, now comes the fun of adding all the little trinkets in here and really setting up the ambience of the enclosure. So I have the bench on the side there. I'm going to turn that into a little plant bench. So I have the little plant on the side there. Super cute. So right now I'm not hot gluing anything. I'm just placing things in there just to figure out spatially where everything's going to land. And I think this looks pretty good. Once I got everything spaced out where I think it should go, then I'm going to start hot gluing these pieces in there. And I just really do it for the bigger pieces, because then I'll start to add in some of the little floral decor around it. But as long as I can get those big pieces hot glued in there where I need them to be, it'll be good. These benches I got from Temu are super perfect for the cottagecore themes. And I'm curious, what do you guys think? Because cottagecore seems to be pretty popular for enclosures, but what other things do you like to do for your theming? Are there any other furniture or pieces that you found that you really like to decorate with? I bought a ton of these benches, so they're going to probably be very common in a lot of my enclosures lately. Alright, you can't have a cottagecore theme without mushrooms, so got all these different sized mushrooms, so I'm pulling them out, trying to figure out the sizes that I want. Got a large one, a couple small ones, and I'll go ahead and place them in the enclosure. So I'll place a little dab of hot glue on the bottoms of each of the mushrooms. I'm going to put one on that plant stand. I think I'll just, so there's a lot of room on there, has enough room to put a little mushroom on there. I also want to now take this time to add in some more foliage behind the chair and some like just in the corner areas just to fill out some space. Different pieces stuck down into the enclosure. I chose the scissors to help with this. Ideally, you want something that's long that you can poke in there and push down into the moss, and scissors were readily available. I've also used tweezers before too. Cutting up some of these little greenery pieces. I'm also going to be adding it to down by the bench. So you can see I'm putting that down the bottom there. Just gives it some depth to the bottom of the enclosure. And then back to the mushrooms. Get a little bit of hot glue on there. Then I'm going to add it down on the floor of the enclosure. Make it look like it's more of a woodsy, foresty vibe on the floor. I'm going to use some fake flowers to add a pop of color to the enclosure. So I got this white flower, looks really pretty, gives it some warmth to the enclosure. I'm going to put it up at the top, kind of like where I placed it here, where it's at the top of where the green foliage is coming up down on the bottom of the enclosure. Looks like that flower is actually growing up out of the floor. I'm going to do it again with this other one. And I'm going to place that up at the other. Our 3D printed mushroom hides. So this is something that we do have available over on my Etsy page, which you can find the link on our description. So they are magnetic. They're also, the magnets are sealed within the print. So this is something key that we wanted to make sure we always had. That way there's no risk of the magnets coming loose and end up losing the magnets. And also making sure that they're sealed from any issues of rust or anything like that. I'm also going to add our mushroom ledges. These are also in our Etsy shop. These are the mushroom ledges that are extremely popular right now. Add them on both sides of the enclosure. Nice thing with them being magnetic is you can move them around to where you want them to be, change it up a bit. And now we are all done. I was really happy to be able to do this enclosure for a customer. I'm always excited to do custom enclosures and be able to bring anyone's vision to light in their enclosure. If you're wanting a custom enclosure done by me, feel free to reach out to me on any of my social media. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and you can reach out to me on Etsy. But that's where I have my listing so you can see what options I have and I can create something for you. And if you want a video done of it, I have no problem. Definitely understand I'm very slow at trying to get videos done, but I appreciate the support. Until next time, keep it spooky.